Hello, my name is Anita Griesbach, and welcome to my project, my VideoCast Female Success Stories, where I share success stories of women from all around the globe to inspire and to encourage millions of women to write their own success story. I'm very happy to introduce to you memory artist Luise Maria Sommer today. When she was a kid, she was known as Forgetful Louise. Decades later, she won the senior world memory champion. So what an exciting story. And I'm really looking forward to find out more about Luise's passion and everything there is to know about memory training. I'm very happy to see you today. How are you, Luise?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm looking forward to our talk indeed.
Great, me too. How did it come that you became this passionate about or this enthusiastic about memory training? Was this a lifelong interest of you, or have you had a game changer?
It definitely was the latter, Anita. There really was a game changer in my life about 30 years ago now already. I can't believe it. As you have already mentioned, I was on my way to becoming this, forgetful Louise, Professor Sommer, who started, to leave things behind, not bring along the things she had promised. And plus the fact that there were two cases of dementia, old age dementia in my family, this really started to worry me. And so, like magic, I was attracted by a lecture at Graz University on memory and learning. And I attended this lecture, and it was this game changer you have just mentioned, because Professor Ibera there introduced us to these ancient Greek memory techniques of Greek speakers, ancient orators, who used that to memorize hours of speech. He showed us how that worked. He showed us how it worked. I went home, and on the very next day, I was just on maternity leave for our third child. Our middle child came home, Christian, 8 years old, and I grabbed him and said, Christian, please write down 30 words for your mom and examine me afterwards. And so he wrote down Knight Rider, his favorite TV series, or Duplo, Lego, whatever. And then he examined me. What was number 17, 23, 2? And I knew every single word. And I knew this is going to be mine. And I was really fascinated. Yeah, and as luck would have it, 6 years later in Austria, we had the very first memory competition for juniors. It was called Memoriade in Vienna. And so I just gathered a few students who were interested, volunteers on a voluntary basis, and we trained and we went there. And then the whole thing took off because we did really well. And 2 years later, there were competitions for grown-ups. So my student said, Frau Professor Sommer, now your turn. So I also took part, became Austria's first memory champion, and then was invited to a Guinness Show of Records. And then, yeah, this was really the jump into my second profession, not only being a teacher, but also becoming a memory expert and giving presentations, workshops, and passing on my passion. That's what I'm still really into it.
Wow, this is beautiful. I mean, sometimes you discover something or someone, and it can completely turn around your life, or you suddenly discover this is me. Beautiful. Exactly. And it's so beautiful that you still love it and you grow and yeah.
Yes, it is a fascinating. It is, and the older I get, the more fascinating this topic becomes, because we live in a society where old age is usually combined with deteriorating memory. And I do not agree with that. And I'm trying to walk my talk and to be a living example that much more lies in our hands than we usually think.
That's an interesting point. I will come back to that later on. So as we've already mentioned, you have won the Senior World Memory Championship. What a huge success. Congrats to that.
Thank you.
I can't imagine, how was that? Was it a huge challenge? And how did it feel afterwards? I mean, the award, what did this mean to you?
Oh, thank you for this question, Anita. This award really meant the most to me of the awards I got in the course of the years. As I have mentioned, this Guinness world record and in a TV show 2002 was the starting of it all. And then I took part in Manchester in the World Memory Championships 2004 and won the title Grandmaster of Memory. So that was my last competition I took part in. And then 12 years later, when I realized that in Singapore there were going to be the next World Memory Championships, and I was 12 years older, I decided, yes, Luise, you are going to take part and you're going to beat yourself. You know, I wanted to beat the limits I had reached 12 years earlier. To give you an example, in order to become Grandmaster of Memory, you need to memorize, in 2004, you needed to memorize 777-digit number in 1 hour. This is called hour numbers. After 2004, this limit was raised to 1,000. So my decided objective was in Singapore to beat myself, 2004, and to really jump over this 1,000 limit. Yeah, and what shall I tell you? I succeeded, and also in 3 more disciplines, I did better than 12 years before. And this means so much to me, because this is what I want to tell the world, what I want to tell my fellow men. There is so much we can do in order to preserve and even to enhance our memory the older we get.
That's, yeah, that gives a lot of hope. It's just up to us then, basically. It's
not completely, of course. I mean, I'm humble enough to know that not everything lies in our hands, but much more than we generally tend to think, especially in our society. There are such interesting studies. They are quite. They were made quite a few years ago by Ellen J. Langer, this Harvard professor of psychology, where she really proved that our attitude towards age influences the quality of our memory. In societies where old age has a high standing, China, for example, older people do as well, or in this study did as well in a memory experiment as well as the younger ones. And older Americans who had grown up with this, subconscious prejudice, old age equals bad memory, they really did significantly worse. And so my message, detect the power you have inside, and with the right tools and the right attitude, memory training can really be rewarding and great fun.
So this kind of proves the saying, if you believe you can or you can't.
Exactly.
It's true.
It's true. Henry Ford, if you think you can do it, or if you think you can't, you are always right.
Yeah, that's so much about our mindset, attitude.
Exactly.
I really like what you say on your website. The more annual rings I'm allowed to add to my tree of life, the more exciting this topic becomes for me. You've already mentioned this at the beginning. Would you dive a little more into it? What do you find that exciting?
Well, yes, I'm really, really grateful that this topic has crossed my mind and has crossed my way. And in 2003, when I was asked to write my first book, which became a bestseller immediately afterwards, Good Memory Made Easy, I was really fascinated by these memory techniques, their efficiency, and I concentrated and focused on those. But in the years afterwards, I realized that there is much more to this memory training or to this devotion of trying to boost your memory. There are studies that prove that, for example, an inner attitude of gratitude actually enhances your attention for the world, for the people around you, you take in more, and you're also able to recall more afterwards if you practice that on a daily or even weekly basis. Studies showing that people who carried through such a routine for a certain amount of time had better results in memory experiments afterwards. So this inner attitude of gratitude that also has helped me in other situations of life came along with my passion for memory. Or another decisive point, which is really fascinating, is creativity. Because you see, in memory sports, for example, in the discipline random words, you are given 100, 200, 300 random words, and you try to memorize as many as possible by using this ancient method that I have mentioned before of loci. You know, these Greek speakers, orators, they used loci or places in a room or on a path in a fixed routine, in a fixed order, and then they associated their metaphorical images they had in their mind for their speech with these concrete loci. And when they gave their speech, they then just wandered through this room, picking up one image after the other. And this is exactly what memory athletes also do in these disciplines. And it's incredible how creative you become, because you have to make associations on the spot. And the more you train, the faster you become. And you see, there is always a way, even if there is a place that has got nothing at all to do with the word you are supposed to deposit there. You always find a creative way. And what I have added to my training and to my conviction is I always use positive associations, powerful associations, associations that are funny, that are absurd and humorous, never ever negative associations. So they do not take energy away from me, but on the contrary, I get energy. When I trained for Singapore in the summer 2016, my films, I mean, my dreams I had in the night, they were like, you know, Oscar films. And really lively, and they just, you know, they do you good, and they help you to cope with life in a creative way, also in your daily routine, and not just when you train for this memory discipline.
Interesting. Thank you. You have already mentioned that that you don't believe, or in many cultures, people believe that with increasing age, our memory gets worse, and you don't agree with that. Would you go a little more into that?
Yes. As I said before, it is really a question of attitude, a question of, you know, this self-fulfilling prophecy. When you and it is extremely dangerous if we take in these prejudices in a subconscious way when we're little children, you know, listening half-heartedly to elderly people talking or complaining about their loss of memory or deteriorating memory. So we take that in, and when we are then 50 or maybe even late 40s and notice we don't remember names so well anymore, or have the feeling our such a lot of information and we can't retain it, then, you know, this self-fulfilling prophecy starts. And it is so important here to be aware of the fact that our brain will always be our servant and will always help us to prove we are right, as you said before. You know, and when I keep telling myself that my memory gets worse and worse and worse, my brain will help you to reach that. So I suggest completely the other way around. Let's look on the things we still do remember. Let's be proud of them. Let's cultivate them. Let's cherish them. I have this motto: a name a day keeps Alzheimer's away. And, you know, so I really try to take in people's names consciously, to repeat them. At the end of the day, to look back, what was the name of this person that I got to know today? And in the moment where I get to know the person, he or she gets my undivided attention. So a name a day, but this name can also be substituted by a fact a day, anything that you Google and afterwards you say, okay, come on, Luise, remember that. Take that into your memory and then be proud of it when on the next day or a few days afterwards you suddenly can do something with this new piece of information that you have, taken the effort of putting it into your memory.
Yeah, true. Undivided attention nowadays is a big
Yes.
topic. Really focusing on one thing. We tend to multitask to get done more things, but it slows us down.
Exactly. And the opposite of multitask is unique focusing. So doing exactly what you are doing with 100% of your mind. And this is, this aspect of mindfulness that was really coined by Ellen Langer, as opposed to mindlessly doing things. And I mean, it's completely, it goes without saying really that if we do things as mindfully as possible, this is where a good memory starts. Without that, it's even the best and most sophisticated memory techniques don't work. If you don't have this undivided attention, if you don't do what actually you are doing. And mindfulness, I love this term because it also means being in the state of an observer, with your mind fully present, you observe the things that are going around you and you are open for new things. And this is what really keeps us mentally young.
Yeah, good point. One of your mottos is also simply remember more. Would you say, training your memory is really simple, easy? And do you have maybe tips and tricks? You have already mentioned some. Do you have some others that you could recommend that everyone can use anytime or easily use during everyday life?
Yes. First of all, as I said, undivided attention, being fully present, that is really the best way of starting on your good memory. And secondly, it should never be tedious. It should never be a must. Oh, I must train my memory. Going to a mental fitness studio, that is not the way to do it. It should be a source of joy, of fun, of humor, and maybe to kill two birds with one stone, if you integrate it in your daily life and can really make use of it, then you don't consider it as training. For example, numbers, okay? I mean, what it all boils down to in this creative memory training is really thinking in images. Transferring dry, boring information into lively, highly memorable pictures or images. And so one way of remembering your PIN code, a 4-digit PIN code, for example, is if you start making a toolbox with only 10 little tools, and the 10 little tools are pictures, images for the numbers from 0 to 9. And you can do it spontaneously. Whatever is your first association when you see the number 0 in front of your inner eye, maybe the shape reminds you of a balloon, yes, or of an egg. So that is your symbol for number 1. Or number 2 looks like a swan. Number 3 like a tripod. Whatever. 4 like a chair. 5 like your hand. 6 you can also rhyme. 6 like a stick. Whatever. And then combine these 4 images to a little story, a creative story, and you will never ever forget your PIN code again. And then, so that is a little unit of memory training that you do and integrate it in your daily life. And it you benefit from it whenever maybe there are some people who say, oh, I don't need to do that. How should I forget my PIN code? But I tend to come across more and more people who say, yes, I used to think that, but then I stood in front of this machine with a completely different keyboard, and then I had to write down the order I used to have in my mind. And so that is a practical use you have. Or if you say, I remember a fact a day, or I remember a name a day. The main thing is you have to enjoy it. That is the only prerequisite, because being enthusiastic about a topic is like manure for your mind. This is what 𝐁𝐨𝐫𝐿 said, our renowned brain psychologist and expert here in the German-speaking world. And he says, enthusiasm is like manure. Yes, it makes your mind grow. So if you find it, and that is really the good news of today, the best training for your brain is finding a topic that you are really fascinated about, and really immersing yourself into it, being enthusiastic about it, experiencing this flow feeling when you devote your time in it. And this is when your brain cells, grow like mad. Isn't that a good news? I mean,
yeah, that's fantastic.
No effort. Yes.
It really fits to the concept of edutainment. Don't know if you have heard it. Yeah.
Yes.
You combine education and entertainment, basically dry facts, figures with fun.
Exactly.
That's the perfect match. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And learning is it's also you're looking forward to the result. You're looking forward to the result that learning really the effect that learning has on you. And endorphins really are emitted when we learn successfully. This is how little children learn. So if we really manage to associate learning with fun, with enjoyment, then success is really guaranteed.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for your insights. So when you think about the future, your future, are there any ideas or projects that you are currently working on? Or do you have a dream maybe that you would like to realize one day?
Wow, that is a good question. Well, to start with basic facts, 2 years ago I produced an online video course as a memo coach, where I sort of come to my students or to the participants and in different modules, in lectures, and teach them all my tools. It's a 3-week course, but you can take the time that you need for it, and where I really pass on all my knowledge, my enthusiasm, my experience. And in the future, I really want to enlarge this on this topic. I want to maybe get more interactive, add new modules. So this is a concrete project I have in mind. But the most precious thing we have in life is our time. And the older I get, of course, the more precious my time becomes. And so on a personal basis, there has been a complete change in my life. I have to step back a little bit. First, 4 years ago, February 2019, my life turned upside down when, after 45 years of a life together, of being really from the outward a super couple, having 3 super children, my husband and I divorced, and the initiative did not come from me. So this for me meant turning my life upside down, but we managed to stay on a friendship basis, and I'm really grateful for that. But in these 3.5 years that followed, I went through the deepest valley in my life. But I do not refrain from telling it, from passing on my experience, because I think this was the time when I learned most about life, about myself, about the importance of gratitude, for example, in such deep times, in such dark times. Even if you don't, if you think you can't, there are always things you can still be grateful for, and in my trust that in the end things will fall into place. I always trusted in that. So, and this happened half a year ago. My life has taken a turn to the better, to the best, with a new person at my side, and this is the most precious gift life can give you. to love and be loved in return is the greatest gift. The older you get, the more you realize that. And so this really has priority, much more than any business project I have.
Mm.
And so we will see what life still has in store. Maybe the two of us have a joint project one day because we think very similarly, and are soulmates. So let's see what comes along. I'm open, I'm curious, and I take whatever comes along.
Sounds great. Yeah. That sounds wonderful. If you had the chance to talk to your younger self, what would you tell her?
In fact, I think I would tell her what I kept telling my students during the time I was a teacher. You know, I was teaching for 41 years in school. I really liked it. I would tell her that every person, including you have such a lot of potential. Trust in yourself. Trust in yourself, trust in life, that life will give you the chance, you know, to let this potential grow. And don't try to please everyone. Don't try to please, to be everyone's darling. Trust in life, trust in people, and trust in the fact that in the end things will fall into place and that you can show your potential to the fullest. Just this trust in a person, passing on, I see such a lot of potential in you. And yeah, this is what I would tell my inner self, my younger self. And yeah, I think it probably intuitively I did that, but I would have liked to know it that clearly when I was younger.
Thank you. That is really great advice. You have mentioned already so many strengths and talents that you have. What would you say, what is your personal secret to success?
I think I really, and I'm grateful for that, I have the ability to see the good in nearly everything, not to despair, but to, as I said, to trust. To trust in life, that in the end, as I have to say it again, things will fall into place, and that my power or the power of my thoughts, of my mindset, cannot be underestimated. It's much bigger than we generally tend to think, and that with the power I have in my thought, this really gives me empowerment. I can really draw things into my life that is amazing. So this is really some advice I would like to pass on. Do be careful about the way you talk with yourself, in which words, in which pictures do you talk with yourself. And by the way, in my latest podcast episode, I spoke about passwords the powerful way. Because just as you also want some concrete pieces of advice or tips, passwords can also be a powerful instrument for empowering yourself. For example, if you have a secret power sentence that only you know. Let's imagine for 23 there you would like to have an ideal weight of, I don't know, any kilos. You have a positive sentence that is really formulated in the present tense. So in 2023 I have, and then you insert your ideal weight. Or you want to draw love into your life, you want to draw anything into your life, you state this positive sentence, you just take the initials, you know, in capital letters with a comma, an exclamation mark at the end, and every time you enter your secret power sentence, your secret power password, you give yourself energy. And don't underestimate the power of this mindset you have.
True. Thank you so much. This is really valuable advice. Ah, great. Louise, do you know an inspiring woman that you would love to see in female success stories one day?
In fact, Anita, yes. There are two of them I would like to mention. Is it
Yes,
okay if I say
great.
two?
Yes,
First one that comes into my mind is a very, very personal soulmate of mine. It's an actress, a German actress, Brigitte Karner. She's in her 60s, and when she was a younger actress, she was even on the verge, of jumping the big ocean, and had an interview with Steven Spielberg. But then she decided to give priority to her family. And so she stepped back, but she became a teacher for actors, and she still is can be seen in films and on stage. And she is a fascinating personality, intuitively can empathize with people, can give people advice, can be a mentor, and she is really fascinating. So that is Brigitte Karner. And the second one is Greta Silver, who I have known for quite a few years now. We have become very, very good friends. We are soulmates as well. And she is a role model, even on the UNESCO website, for how to make the most of this fascinating part of life called better aging. And she's a role model for that. She's a YouTuber. She's great, and a great speaker who can really show people how to bring themselves, how to make their inner light shine. And she walks her talk. She's completely authentic. I know her personally, and everything she says, she also does herself. And she's a most inspiring personality, has already given a TED Talk in English. So she would also be a good guest here as well.
Thank you. These two women sound amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Louise. I really enjoyed our talk, and time just flies by. Could go on for hours. You're really inspiring, and I can so feel your passion.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I wish you a lot of, keep going, keep inspiring, a lot of success, and a lot of fun with
Thank you so much, Anita.
Training.
Yes, and I wish you a lot of success with your success stories. I find it's a really, really good way, making use of modern media and trying to change the world for the better. And this is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. And to all of you out there, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And you heard it, the power of mind. It's in your hands, not only, but I think mostly in your hands, what you believe, what you do to keep brain fit. Take care, and see you next time. Bye.